He tried to mush me. When he tried to mush me, I just grabbed him, you know what I'm saying? Like grabbed him and we tussled, we fell down the steps. He was smashing, but I was smashing like every now and then, you know what I'm saying? Like I might see her at the mall, like, shit, what's up? Meet me at the crib. Smash on some shit like that, you know what I'm saying? But, you know what I'm saying? It was his girl, they was living together and shit, you know what I'm saying? I couldn't believe that she was telling me like how the way he was feeling about me, you feel me? I was like, damn. Like, damn, I was one of them niggas that was praying for him to blow up.
The Atlanta trap scene was ruthless. Fast money, fierce competition, and reputations that could rise or collapse with a single move. For Trentavious Zaman White, better known as Bankroll Fresh, a Georgia rapper, it was more than a hustle, it was his stage. But in the late hours of March 4th, 2016, that stage turned deadly. Police would soon arrive at Street Exec Studios to a chaotic scene. Multiple gunshots echoing through the night, chaos and panic everywhere. At first, it looked like a robbery gone wrong. Then, the grim reality hit. Fresh had been struck in the exchange after he was caught sleeping with his neighbor's wife. Just moments earlier, surveillance footage had captured him walking into the studio, alive and confident. But what the footage didn't capture was the rifle in his hand, the armed men waiting on him outside, and they weren't there to make music. To understand the horror that unfolded, we first have to step back into the calm before the storm and meet the man behind the music, the ambition, and the legacy that would never be fully realized. Trentavious Zaman White was born on August 2, 1987 in Atlanta, Georgia, with deep family roots tracing back to New Orleans, Louisiana. Raised in the heart of Zone 3, one of Atlanta's most storied neighborhoods in Southern hip-hop culture, Trentavious was an 18-year-old rising star in Atlanta's trap rap scene. Known as Bankroll Fresh, he grew up immersed in the rhythms, the struggles, and the stories that would define his music. From a young age, he navigated streets shaped by hustle, survival, and ambition, and those experiences would fuel the lyrics and raw authenticity that made him stand out in Atlanta's crowded rap scene. Fresh's family provided him with the foundation he needed to pursue his passions, but it was the environment of Atlanta's streets that shaped his artistic voice. He attended local schools in the city, blending academics with the lessons of street life, a combination that would later surface in his music. His work was an expression of what it meant to grow up in his community, to see opportunity and danger by side, and to translate that reality into songs that spoke to fans who recognized themselves in his experiences. As he entered young adulthood, Fresh's career began to take shape. By 2014, he released Life of a Hot Boy, followed by Life of a Hot Boy 2, Real Trapper in 2015, both mixtapes showcasing his ability to narrate street life with clarity and authenticity. Tracks like Hot Boy became anthems in Atlanta's underground scene, earning him respect not only for his lyrical ability, but also for the honesty that ran through every bar. His affiliation with Street Execs, a local label founded by the Bankroll Mafia, connected him to influential names such as 2 Chainz and Future, propelling him toward broader visibility and mainstream potential. Yet, behind the music, Fresh's life was entwined with a complex network of friendships, rivalries, loyalty codes, and even death. One of the most significant relationships in his life was Mendez Owens, known by his stage name as No Plug. Their friendship dated back to childhood, roughly between ages 10 and 12, rooted in shared experiences navigating Atlanta's toughest neighborhoods.
Okay, well, we met like when we was probably like 10 or 12, some shit like that, you know what I'm saying? Like, we was tight. We always been tight, you know what I'm saying? Like, he was my boy. That was my boy, you know what I'm saying? Like, our friendship always been good, you know what I'm saying? Until, like, a certain level of his career came about, you know what I'm saying?
For nearly 2 decades, Fresh and No Plug moved in the same circles, sharing street knowledge, supporting each other's early ventures, and building a bond that many assumed was unbreakable. However, by 2015, the dynamics between Fresh and No Plug had begun to shift. Fresh's rising star and growing career created tension. he increasingly focused on his music, pursuing collaborations, mixtapes, and mainstream recognition, while No Plug remained more entangled in street activities. Adding fuel to the fire, both men had been romantically involved with the same woman at different points, creating layers of personal tension alongside professional rivalry. Anyone who has spent time studying human behavior, male pride, and the volatile mix of romantic rivalry knows these kinds of conflicts rarely fade away quietly. Resentment doesn't simply disappear. It lingers beneath the surface, waiting for the right spark. Months or even years can pass with nothing more than tension simmering until suddenly it erupts when combined with other pressures. For Fresh and No Plug, those pressures were everywhere. Pride, questions of territory, jealousy over careers, and complicated romantic ties all collided at once. It was a recipe for disaster, a storm building piece by piece until it was bound to break. However, the wounded egos and unresolved disputes were only setting the stage for what would eventually become a catastrophic confrontation. The trigger came in late 2015 during a community turkey drive in the 9th Ward. Neighborhoods like the 10th Ward in Allen Temple had seen him distributing food and supplies, continuing his efforts to give back to the community. His arrival in the 9th Ward seemed to follow the same pattern, an extension of his outreach, another chance to bring support to a different area. Fresh, intending to continue his philanthropic outreach across neighborhoods, arrived in an area associated with No Plug. But there was a problem. Residents of the 9th Ward, especially those connected to No Plug, didn't see Bankroll Fresh's presence the way he intended. Instead of viewing him as a hometown figure giving back, they regarded him as an outsider stepping into territory where he hadn't earned the right to move freely. Despite prior arrangements and history where No Plug had once permitted Fresh to shoot his Hot Boy video in the 9th Ward back when their relationship was stronger, associates made it clear that Fresh was not welcome in that space, escorting him out.
He was passing out toys already, food, whatever they was passing out. So he was in the 9. Fresh, he was already in the 10th, had already passed out everything, you know what I'm saying? So Skate, he's passing out everything, then I guess Fresh called him and tell him he finna pull in the 9, you know what I'm saying? So he just pulled in the 9, you know what I'm saying? So we was like, we ain't really fucking with you like that, you feel me? So he just got escorted out, like he didn't get robbed, he didn't, like, I wasn't gonna let none of that type shit happen, you know what I'm saying? Cause he's still my boy, he was still my boy, you feel me? But we just, like, we just went seeing eye to eye, you feel me? So we just escorted him out the 9, you know what I'm saying?
Fresh perceived this as a public humiliation and a betrayal, a wound to his pride that lingered for months. No Plug, on the other hand, maintained that it was a territorial decision, a boundary set without malice toward their friendship. Yet perception matters as much as intent in a world where respect is currency, and for Fresh, the slight festered. After the 9th Ward turkey drive incident in late 2015, Bankroll Fresh and No Plug went their separate ways. For months, they moved within their own circles without crossing paths. Fresh focused on pushing his music forward, recording tracks, performing shows, and strengthening his ties with street execs. Meanwhile, No Plug stayed active in the streets, pursued his own music, and continued life in the neighborhoods where he had influence. On the surface, the silence between them might have looked like a cooling-off period, a chance for tempers to settle and grudges to fade. But beneath that quiet, the tension never truly disappeared. Fresh still carried the sting of humiliation from the 9th Ward, and the mix of personal, territorial, and professional disputes remained unresolved. Piece by piece, the pressure was building. What seemed like distance was really the calm before the storm, and the stage was being set for a clash that neither man could simply walk away from. By March 4, 2016, that festering tension would culminate in tragedy. No Plug explained that evening he had stopped by Street Exec Studios without any hidden agenda. He was on his way to South Carolina for promotional work and decided to pause at the studio to link up with a mutual friend before continuing his trip. Fresh, on the other hand, had received word from a mutual acquaintance that No Plug was at Street Exec Studios. Within minutes, Fresh arrived at the studio, confronting No Plug about the Ninth Ward incident. You see, while No Plug had walked into the studio that night and began mingling casually, even taking time to FaceTime with someone, completely unaware that his presence wasn't going unnoticed, what he was unaware of was within minutes the atmosphere had shifted. A female friend of Bankroll Fresh had spotted him entering the building and wasted no time alerting Fresh, who was elsewhere at the time. Whether she truly understood the tension between the two men or anticipated how Fresh might respond remains unclear, but her decision set events into motion almost instantly. Witness accounts indicate Fresh approached from behind, demanding answers and airing grievances about the perceived disrespect. No Plug reportedly tried to defuse the situation verbally, emphasizing that the incident was old news, but Fresh persisted. The confrontation quickly escalated into a physical altercation. Accounts differ who threw the first punch, but what is clear is that the confrontation quickly escalated. Within moments, the two men were locked in a struggle, their fight spilling onto a staircase where they tumbled together in a chaotic clash. However, they were briefly separated by friends. In that fleeting moment, there was still room for things to calm down, a chance for both men to step back and perhaps settle their differences with words instead of fists. But No Plug made a decision. Sensing that staying any longer would only fuel more conflict, No Plug chose to walk away. He headed to his Dodge Charger, got inside, and began driving off. If you guessed it couldn't have been that easy, then you guessed right. This could have ended there. There was a heated scuffle broken up by friends, each man going his own way. But destiny had other plans, and what followed would prove far more consequential than anyone expected. During the scuffle with Bankroll Fresh, No Plug later explained that he had dropped his phones in the chaos. As he drove away, he realized they were still back at the scene. Deciding to return and retrieve them, he had no idea that going back would place him directly in the path of what would become the most dangerous and devastating turn of the night.
But I checked my pockets, so I guess when we fell down the steps, I dropped both of my phones inside the studio. So I pulled back up to the studio, you know what I'm saying? I pulled back up to the studio to get the cell phones. When I pulled back up to the studio to get the cell phones, he came back out with probably like 10, 15 niggas, you know what I'm saying? All of them had guns, he had a stick, you know what I'm saying? I'm like, come on, bro. Why the hell do you got a stick for? You know what I'm saying? Like, come on, it ain't even that kind of situation, you know what I'm saying? He know I would never just harm him like that, you feel me? Because I know his mama. I ain't even trying to be looking at his mama like, damn, mom, dude. You know what I'm saying? That's why I'm glad she just got some information about the situation. You know what I'm saying? She ain't just really cold-hearted against me, you know what I'm saying?
Outside the studio, when No Plug returned, he was met with Fresh, armed with an SKS rifle, referred to by witnesses as a stick, street slang for a rifle, and he was accompanied by multiple individuals in a vehicle, some armed. The fact that several people in the area were armed made it clear that Fresh wasn't simply going to let No Plug return, pick up his phones, and leave without incident. In the ensuing chaos, Fresh fired first toward No Plug's Dodge Charger, the studio's glass entrance door shattering under the spray of bullets. Chaos erupted as shots were returned from No Plug's vehicle. The confrontation lasted only moments, but was devastatingly violent. Fresh was struck in the abdomen, falling to the ground as gunfire echoed across the parking lot. Surveillance footage later confirmed the intensity of the exchange, showing shattered glass, scattered shell casings, and the suddenness with which life changed that night. The night that Bankroll Fresh was shot outside Street Exec's studio in Atlanta triggered an immediate law enforcement response. According to Atlanta Police Department records, officers were called to the scene shortly after gunfire broke out. They arrived to find the area chaotic. Dozens of people fled the location as officers assessed the situation and began securing the scene. The victim, Bankroll Fresh, had already been taken from the scene by associates or bystanders and transported to Hughes Spalding Hospital, where he later died from his injuries. The Fulton County medical examiner confirmed the cause of death as a gunshot wound to the abdomen. No Plug fled initially, but contacted his attorney before voluntarily turning himself in for questioning. As officers moved in, they discovered over 50 shell casings scattered both inside and outside the studio space, evidence of how intense the shootout had been. Officers immediately began interviewing witnesses and securing evidence. At the time of the initial investigation, police confirmed they had identified the victim and were attempting to piece together what happened, but no immediate suspect, motive, or arrest was announced in the hours following the shooting. In the days after the shooting, detectives and homicide units combed through surveillance footage from the studio area and interviewed people who had been present. The sheer number of shell casings confirmed that multiple guns were involved, and investigators sought to identify who had fired shots and why the confrontation had turned deadly. No Plug was eventually brought in for questioning. The process lasted close to 20 minutes, during which No Plug gave his version of what happened that night. Surveillance footage backed up his account, showing Bankroll Fresh firing first, an important detail that laid the groundwork for a self-defense claim. In the video, Fresh can be seen shooting toward the charger, the studio's front glass door shattering from the impact. That was the moment police say Fresh was struck in the right hip. Investigators later determined that the fatal shot came from someone inside No Plug's car. Atlanta police investigators uncovered a history of tension between Bankroll Fresh and No Plug. Evidence suggested that Fresh's presence at the studio that night wasn't random. It was arranged by mutual acquaintances hoping to mend the rift between the two rappers. But tragically, that reconciliation never came. Despite the lack of charges, the case remains one of the more discussed incidents in Atlanta's music community from that era.
For persons of interest, Fox 5's Nathalie Pozzo live at Atlanta Police Headquarters.
And Nathalie, police now say this may have been a case of self-defense?
Well, Restine, determining who started this gunfight has been a challenge for the Atlanta Police Department and also the DA's office. They're hoping by releasing this video tonight, it will help them identify other people who were present at the time of this gun battle and determine if this is a self-defense case.
When people shoot at each other, somebody is defending themselves. It's just a matter of who. At some point, you know, if you shoot at someone and they shoot back, then of course they're defending themselves. But determining that has, like I said, has been a challenge for us because we do have different stories depending on who you talk to.
Police say they've received conflicting statements and hope to talk to others to figure out what led to this gunfight and who was the primary aggressor.
What we'd like to see now is anyone who might know more than what we found out from the witnesses that we've already spoken to. If someone has something further to add that will corroborate, hopefully, what we know, or even tell us something else that we don't know.
Police tell me they do know the people who were inside of that car across the street, but have not made any arrests nearly a year later because, again, they have not been able to determine if this was self-defense.
Fans, fellow artists, and observers continue to debate the circumstances, and while the official ruling may be self-defense, many still feel the tragic outcome reflected deeper tensions and conflict that could have been avoided. The case dragged on for more than 2 years, remaining unresolved until July 2018. At that point, the district attorney concluded that criminal charges were not justified. Surveillance footage showing Fresh firing first supported a ruling of self-defense. As a result, neither No Plug nor anyone else involved faced prosecution. The news of Bankroll Fresh's death sent heartbreaks through Atlanta's music community and beyond. Fans, fellow artists, and members of his neighborhood were left grappling with the reality that an 18-year-old rising star had been taken so violently. His family, already aware of the pressures of his rising career, was devastated by the sudden loss. His parents, siblings, and extended relatives expressed profound grief, emphasizing that Fresh was not only a talented artist, but also a young man with dreams and ambitions beyond the music industry. Bankroll Fresh's uncle voiced strong frustration at how the situation was being portrayed, defending Fresh's name and openly questioning No Plug's intentions. Others in the community took issue with the way No Plug later spoke about the incident in interviews, describing his tone as boastful and insensitive. Despite that criticism, No Plug consistently insisted that he carried genuine remorse over losing someone he once considered a brother. At the same time, he maintained that his actions that night were driven by survival, framing them as necessary self-preservation rather than aggression.
What's going on, and he had hella fans, you know what I'm saying? So I can't fight that situation. That's why I'm glad this interview, you know what I'm saying? So, you know what I'm saying, the situation, you know what I'm saying, like that shit the situation wasn't that bad. We put him out the 9, but it could have gotten way more worse than that. Like it could have been like the situation where I was in, I came to his studio. It was like him coming to my studio in the 9, you know what I'm saying? Like we didn't want to do him like that, you feel? We could have did anything. Like I didn't want to do him like that, bro. You feel me? I didn't want to fuck his career up or none of that shit. You know what I'm saying? I didn't want to do none of that. Like I wanted him to prevail, do his thing, and I'm always gonna do my thing because I get this shit in the street, like for real. Like street money for real. Like niggas know.
Atlanta's trap rap community, which had watched Fresh grow from a local talent into a rising star, reacted with a mixture of sorrow and outrage. Social media feeds were flooded with tributes, videos, and messages celebrating his work while condemning the violence that ended his life. Fellow artists, including those affiliated with street execs and other local labels, shared stories of Fresh's generosity, work ethic, and dedication to his craft. Many highlighted how he used his platform to inspire younger artists in Zone 3 Atlanta, a neighborhood known for its influence on Southern hip-hop culture. Friends and collaborators described him as someone who stayed true to his roots despite the pressures of fame. They recalled how he gave back to the community, often hosting events and distributing essentials to local families, a testament to the character that existed beyond his music persona. The tension between him and No Plug, while tragic, was framed by the community as a heartbreaking intersection of ambition, loyalty, and unresolved personal conflicts. But most of all, the jury's decision to rule on self-defense sparked more reaction. Some voices within Atlanta's hip-hop community, along with Bankroll Fresh's family and loyal supporters, continued to wrestle with the outcome. For them, the question lingered: was justice truly served, or had the system failed to account for the deeper layers of rivalry, pride, and circumstance that led to Bankroll Fresh's death? The ruling felt to many like a technical closure rather than a moral resolution. Yet, from a legal standpoint, the matter was settled. Authorities stood firm on the conclusion that Fresh's decision to fire first set the chain of events in motion. The surveillance footage became the decisive factor, framing the confrontation not as murder but as self-defense. With that evidence, the case was officially closed, leaving behind a community divided between the letter of the law and the weight of loss. Bankroll Fresh's funeral drew hundreds of mourners from across Atlanta and the national hip-hop scene. Family members, friends, and fans gathered to celebrate his life while expressing collective grief over his untimely death. His music was played throughout the service, a reminder of the authenticity and passion he poured into every verse. Attendees described a palpable mix of sorrow and admiration, honoring both his talent and his character. For the community, the funeral was not only a farewell, but also a wake-up call about the dangers that can accompany rising fame and unresolved disputes within the music industry. Families are encouraged to support young artists in understanding the importance of communication, de-escalation, and personal safety. The broader community is reminded that neighborhood disputes and public disagreements, if left unaddressed, can have fatal consequences. Mentorship, awareness of conflict escalation, and seeking guidance from trusted advisors are essential. Fresh's story is a cautionary tale for anyone navigating ambition, friendships, and competition in high-stakes environments. Viewers are urged to reflect on the relationships in their lives, recognize early signs of conflict, and prioritize safety over pride or retaliation. Support local communities, promote dialogue, and advocate for mentorship programs that help young artists channel ambitions safely. What do you think about it? Let us know in the comments below. And if you found this story intriguing, please like, share, and don't forget to subscribe for more stories like this.